In March 2022, the secondary market for Rolex watches hit a peak that the industry had never seen before and has not seen since. A steel Daytona was trading at over $50,000 against a retail of approximately $13,000. A steel Submariner was clearing $30,000 at auction for a watch you could theoretically buy at an authorized dealer for $8,000 if you had the right relationship and enough patience. Gray market dealers were sitting on inventory they had paid peak prices to acquire. Forum members were posting screenshots of flips that had returned 20% in 3 months. The watch press was describing Rolex as an asset class. Then the market turned. By late 2022, it had begun to correct. By 2024, it had corrected significantly. The Daytona fell from its $50,000 high to the mid-30s. The Submariner came down. The GMT-Master II compressed. Dealers who had bought at peak prices found themselves underwater on inventory they could no longer move at the prices they had paid. The fantasy that every Rolex was an investment, that every model appreciated, that buying at retail was automatically a financial decision as well as a personal one, was exposed as exactly what it always was. A story the industry told during a period of market distortion that the industry had no power to sustain indefinitely. The 15 models on this list are the ones that either never belonged in that story or whose specific configurations represent the worst financial and practical decisions available in the Rolex catalog today. We are not telling you these watches are ugly or that the people wearing them are wrong. We are telling you that the gap between what you pay and what you get, in financial terms and in practical terms, is large enough that you need to understand it before you hand over the money. The first model you should never buy at retail is the Rolex Cellini in any of its current configurations, and the argument here is the same argument that the secondary market makes every single day through its pricing. The Cellini is Rolex's dress watch collection, a round-cased, leather-strapped, precious metal family of watches whose design language has nothing in common with the integrated bracelet sports watches that made Rolex what it is commercially. The Cellini Time retails at approximately $5,500 in white gold. On the secondary market, it trades at approximately $3,500 to $4,000, a loss of roughly 25 to 30% the moment you walk out of the boutique. The Cellini Moonphase retails at approximately $13,000. Its secondary market value is between $8,000 and $10,000. The Cellini Dual Time follows the same pattern. The reason is not that these are bad watches. The movement quality is consistent with the broader Rolex catalog. The finishing is legitimate. The reason is that the Cellini has no secondary market demand to speak of because the collector community that drives Rolex secondary market prices is a community built around the sports watch references, and the Cellini is not a sports watch. It is a dress watch in a catalog that nobody associates with dress watches. The Cellini exists because Rolex needed a dress watch line and built one. The market has spent decades confirming that it did not need Rolex to build one. Barack Obama wore a Cellini after leaving the White House, which is the most prominent endorsement the model has ever received, and which has not moved the secondary market needle in any measurable direction. The second model you should never buy at retail is the white gold Submariner, reference 126619LB, which Watch Charts data has identified as carrying the worst value retention of any reference currently in the Rolex catalog. The white gold Submariner, known to the collector community as the Smurf in its previous iteration for the deep blue color scheme, retails at approximately $48,000 and trades on the secondary market at approximately $32,500. That is a loss of more than $15,000, approximately 32% of retail, before accounting for any depreciation over time. The steel Submariner is one of the most sought-after watches in the catalog. Its white gold equivalent carries essentially no secondary market premium and significant secondary market discount. Because the collector, rationale for the Submariner is a tool watch built for function at a price that reflects a relationship between manufacturing cost and commercial value. At $48,000 in white gold, the Submariner has left the tool watch category entirely and entered the jewelry category, where it competes against brands with more established jewelry credentials and loses. You are paying $48,000 for a Submariner that the market values at $32,000. The steel version at approximately $10,000 trades above retail. The choice between them is not a close one. The third model you should never buy at retail is the Day-Date in white gold, reference 28239, and the argument here applies across the Day-Date family in precious metals with specific severity for white gold configurations. The Day-Date retails in white gold at approximately $47,500. It trades on the secondary market at approximately $37,000 to $40,000, a loss of between $7,000 and $10,000 at transaction. The Day-Date has historically been described as the president's watch, associated with figures from Eisenhower to Trump, and carries genuine Rolex heritage. The yellow gold Day-Date holds value better than the white gold version because yellow gold has a cleaner association with the Day-Date's history, and because the yellow gold Day-Date on a president bracelet is the version of the reference that the market has been discussing for 60 years. The white gold Day-Date is a newer configuration, newer in relative historical terms, and the secondary market treats it accordingly. At $47,500 retail, losing $7,000 to $10,000 on the transaction is a specific and avoidable outcome. The fourth model you should never buy at retail is the Lady Datejust 28 in Everose Gold, reference 279175. This reference retails at approximately $32,600 and trades on the secondary market at approximately $23,000, a loss of nearly 30%. Rolex's women's collection historically has weaker secondary market performance than the men's sports lineup for the same reason the Cellini underperforms. The collector community driving secondary market premiums is predominantly focused on steel sports references, and the Lady Datejust in precious metals sits at maximum distance from that focus. The Everose Gold case with a diamond set bezel is a jewelry purchase rather than a horological one, and as a jewelry purchase, it competes against a broader market where Rolex is one option among many, rather than the dominant option it is in the sports watch category. The secondary market has confirmed this consistently. If you want to buy this watch because you love it and intend to wear it, that is a legitimate decision. And the $23,000 secondary market price means you can make it more intelligently by buying pre-owned rather than paying $32,600 at retail for an asset trading at 30% below that figure the same week. The fifth model you should never buy, and specifically never buy in certain configurations, is the Datejust 41 in two-tone, and the two-tone argument applies across the Rolex catalog with particular force wherever the combination appears. Two-tone Rolex watches combining stainless steel and Everose or yellow gold in the case, bezel, and bracelet trade at significant discounts to their all-steel or all-gold equivalents on the secondary market because two-tone sits in a market position that satisfies neither the buyer who wants a tool watch in steel nor the buyer who wants a precious metal dress watch. The aesthetic was most commercially significant in the 1980s and early 1990s. In the contemporary market, the collector community has moved away from it consistently. A steel Datejust 41 with a Jubilee bracelet and a fluted white gold bezel, reference 126334, is a reasonable secondary market performer in certain dial configurations. The same watch with an Everose and steel roll sore bracelet and case combination trades below retail in most configurations. The secondary market's verdict on two-tone is consistent enough across enough references and enough years of data that it constitutes a clear warning. Two-tone at retail is a premium you pay for an aesthetic the market does not currently support. The sixth model you should never buy is the Yacht-Master in yellow gold, reference 116688, which compounds the problems of the yellow gold premium with the Yacht-Master's specific market positioning as a watch that sits between the sports tool category and the dress category without fully occupying either. The Yacht-Master family trades below retail across most of its precious metal configurations, with yellow gold examples trading at particularly significant discounts. The Yacht-Master's design language, with its rotatable bidirectional bezel and its Oyster Flex rubber strap options, was designed to position it as a luxury sports watch. In yellow gold, it reads as a jewelry piece. The market's response to that positioning mismatch is visible in the secondary market price, which in yellow gold configurations sits between 20 and 30% below the retail figure. The steel and titanium Yacht-Master references trade more favorably, but the precious metal versions represent a specific category of Rolex purchase or you're paying a premium for a material that the secondary market does not support in this reference family. The 7th model you should never buy is any Rolex with an aftermarket diamond dial, bezel, or case modification, and this deserves explicit treatment despite not being a production reference because it is one of the most common errors buyers make in the Rolex market. Aftermarket modifications, defined as any diamond setting, color treatment, or material addition applied after the watch left the Rolex factory, destroys secondary market value by up to 40% compared to an identical, unmodified example. The collector community is unanimous on this. The value in a Rolex, particularly in any reference that might appreciate, is the originality of the configuration as it left Geneva. A diamond dial applied after sale is not a Rolex diamond dial. It is a modification. The buyer who pays a premium for it at a gray market dealer or through a private sale is paying for something the market will not recognize at resale. The Rolex that came with diamonds from the factory, the Pearlmaster, the Datejust with a factory gem set bezel, retains value relative to its retail price in a way that a modified example cannot. The modification premium paid at purchase becomes a modification discount at resale, and the difference between those two numbers is the cost of not understanding what the secondary market rewards. The 8th model you should never buy at retail is the Sea Dweller 43mm, reference 126600, and this is the counterintuitive entry on the list because the Sea Dweller is a legitimately excellent watch by any technical standard. The case is 43mm, rated to 1200 meters of water resistance, equipped with a helium escape valve for saturation diving operations, powered by the caliber 3235. The retail price is approximately $13,700. The secondary market trades it consistently below retail in the range of $12,000 to $13,000, a modest but consistent discount that reflects one specific dynamic. The Sea Dweller sits between the Submariner and the Deep Sea in the Rolex dive watch lineup, and the collector community has disproportionately concentrated on the Submariner below it and the Deep Sea above it. The Sea Dweller 43mm is, as one collector publication described it, arguably one of the best value propositions in modern Rolex sports watches, not because it is cheap, but because you can buy it below retail and own a watch that is technically superior to the Submariner in every dive specification for less money than the Submariner costs on the secondary market. The reason it is on this list is that buying it at retail is the wrong way to acquire it. The secondary market discount is real and consistent. Use it. The 9th model you should never buy is any current production Rolex Explorer 2, reference 226570 in black dial configuration. The Explorer 2 has been a reliable secondary market performer historically, but recent data shows it has slipped below retail in its current configuration, trading at approximately the retail price or fractionally below it, which in the context of the Rolex market means the allocation system is working against the buyer without delivering a secondary market return. The Explorer 2 in white dial holds slightly better, but neither configuration commands the premiums of the GMT-Master II. It resembles, superficially, the 24-hour hand, the fixed bezel, the 42mm case. All of it is legitimate and functional. The watch does what it is designed to do, but if you are buying a Rolex that requires a dealer relationship to obtain, you should be obtaining something that trades above retail, not at or below it. The 10th model you should never buy is any Rolex purchased from a gray market dealer at above retail pricing on a reference that trades below retail on the open secondary market. This sounds obvious when stated directly. It is not obvious to a significant portion of buyers because gray market dealers present their inventory in boutique environments with comparable staging to authorized dealers, and the price premium they apply is often described as an availability premium rather than a markup above market. The Sea Dweller 43mm, the Explorer 2, the Cellini, the two-tone Datejust, and most precious metal references all trade below authorized dealer retail on the secondary market. Paying above retail at a gray market dealer for any of these references means paying a premium over a price that is already higher than the market price of the object being sold. The gray market pricing structure on below retail references is a specific and avoidable financial mistake. The 11th model you should never buy is the Rolex Pearlmaster in any configuration, and the argument here is not about the watch itself, but about the category it represents. The Pearlmaster, discontinued around 2022, was Rolex's jewelry watch in the most literal sense. 100% 18-karat gold cases and bracelets, hand-set diamonds, sapphires, and rubies, a 5-piece bracelet design exclusive to the line. It was a beautiful object by the standards of high jewelry watchmaking. It was also a watch whose value proposition was entirely dependent on the jewelry market rather than the horological collector market. And in the jewelry market, Rolex competes against Cartier, Van Cleef, and Arpels and Boucheron, brands with deeper jewelry credentials and more established secondary markets for their gem-set pieces. The Pearlmaster's secondary market performance has been mixed, with pre-owned examples selling for less than their original retail in many configurations. The precious material content provides a floor, but the watchmaking premium evaporates in a category where the watch community does not drive demand. The 12th model you should never buy is the Oyster Perpetual in unpopular dial configurations. The Oyster Perpetual is the purest expression of the Rolex design philosophy, a clean round case with no date, no bezel complication, no additional function beyond time. In its most popular dial configurations, specifically the Tiffany blue and the coral red that were released in 2020 and immediately became secondary market phenomena, the Oyster Perpetual trades significantly above retail. In its less popular configurations, the silver dial, the standard white, the rhodium tone examples, it trades at or below retail. The dial color is the entire value driver in this reference family. A silver-dialed Oyster Perpetual 41 at approximately $6,000 retail trades at approximately $5,500 on the secondary market. The same case with a Tiffany blue dial traded above retail for 2 years following its release. You are buying dial color, not mechanical achievement. Know which dial color the market wants before you commit. The 13th model you should never buy is any Rolex with a stretched or damaged bracelet purchased from a private seller without physical inspection, and this belongs on the list because it is one of the most common ways buyers in the Rolex market destroy the value of their purchase at the point of transaction. Rolex bracelets, specifically the Oyster and Jubilee bracelets on older references, are subject to stretching through wear, producing a bracelet that hangs loosely on the wrist and that the resale market discounts significantly. Genuine replacement Rolex bracelets are expensive, available only through authorized service channels, and not included in the price the seller is asking for the watch. The buyer who purchases a stretched bracelet at market price for the watch itself then discovers the cost of replacing the bracelet has paid over market for the transaction. Inspect the bracelet in person before committing to any private sale. Watch how it drapes. Ask how many links have been removed. A bracelet on a small wrist with all links removed may be fully stretched with no adjustment capacity remaining. That information is not available in a photograph. The 14th model you should never buy is the GMT-Master II in white gold with a blue dial and blue and black bezel, reference 126719BLRO. This reference retails at approximately $46,500 and trades on the secondary market at approximately $36,000, a loss of $10,500. The steel GMT-Master II in every bezel configuration trades above retail. The white gold version at more than 4 times the price of the steel version trades at approximately 22% below retail. The bezel color is the same, the movement is the same, the dial is largely the same. The material change multiplied the retail price by 4 and reduced the secondary market performance from a premium to a discount. The white gold GMT is not a bad watch. It is a bad purchase at retail given what the secondary market will return. The 15th model you should never buy is any Rolex purchased as a financial investment rather than as an object you intend to wear and enjoy. This is the category that the peak of 2022 created and that the correction since 2022 has been eliminating. The Daytona at $50,000 was not worth $50,000 because the manufacturing justified $50,000. It was worth $50,000 because demand had temporarily exceeded supply in a distorted market environment and the price had detached from any rational relationship to the object's intrinsic value. People who bought at $50,000 expecting appreciation bought a market dynamic, not a watch, and the market dynamic resolved. The watches that appreciate over meaningful time periods are the ones that were bought because the buyer wanted to own them wore them, cared for them, kept the original documentation, refrained from polishing the case, sent them to appropriate service when needed, and did not modify them. The financial return, when it comes from the same place every collector has always known it comes from: originality, condition, documentation, and time. Not from timing the market, not from flipping on a short cycle, not from buying what is expensive and hoping it becomes more expensive. The watches on this list are the ones where the gap between retail and reality is large enough that buying them at retail is a choice made in the dark. The market has been pricing them in the light the entire time.